My name is Tori Brennan, and I am 29 years old. Last year, on Thanksgiving night, my life changed in a way I never could have imagined. My father stood up in front of 30 of our relatives and treated me like I was a naughty little child who did something wrong. He actually told me I was grounded right there in front of everyone we know just because I had the courage to ask a simple question. I wanted to know what my dear grandmother had left for me in her will. The whole room suddenly burst out laughing. I felt my face get so hot that I could actually feel my heart beating in my teeth. It was such a strange and heavy feeling. I felt so small, like I was shrinking into my chair, but I did not yell or get angry. I looked him straight in the eyes and said only two words, "All right." The next morning, he came to my bedroom door with a mean little smile on his face. He told me he was glad I finally learned my place and understood who was in charge. But when he opened the door, he did not find a sad daughter waiting for him. He found a completely empty room. There were no clothes, no suitcase, and no me. Before he could even try to pick up his phone to call me, the doorbell rang. On the porch was our family lawyer. He was shaking just a little bit and holding a briefcase full of very important papers that my father never even knew existed. The lawyer looked at him with a sad look and asked, "Mr. Brennan, what have you done?" Before I tell you what was hidden inside that briefcase, I want to say thank you for spending time with my story today. If it touches your heart, it means a lot to me to know you are here listening. Now, let us go back to last September, when the very first piece of this puzzle fell into place. Saying goodbye to Grandma, my grandmother, Eleanor Brennan, passed away on a quiet Tuesday morning at a hospital in Portland. She was 87 years old and had lived a very long and full life. I remember getting the call from my mom at exactly 6:14 in the morning. I was already sitting at my desk, drawing a beautiful garden for a client. My mom's voice sounded as thin and fragile as tissue paper over the phone. She said, "It is Grandma, Tori. She is gone." I drove to the hospital through the heavy, pouring rain. I did not turn on the radio or listen to any music. I just listened to the sound of the rain hitting the window and the sound of my own breath in the quiet car. When I finally got there, my father was already standing in the hallway. Richard Brennan was 63 years old and a man who used to be a high-up judge in the courts. Even in that very sad moment, he was not crying. He was busy on his phone talking about legal deadlines and boring paperwork. He did not even say goodbye to the person on the other end of the call when he saw me walk up. My brother Garrett was right there, standing next to him, wearing a dark suit even at the hospital so early in the morning. They looked like a solid wall, like a team that did not have room for me. I stood at the other end of the hall, all by myself, holding a cup of cold coffee that I could not bring myself to drink. The last time I saw Grandma Eleanor, she was in her garden. She had squeezed my hand so tightly and told me, "Tori, I have taken care of things. You trust me, okay?" I did not know what she meant back then, but I certainly do now. The funeral and the first hint. At the funeral a few days later, my father gave a very long speech. He talked for 11 minutes about the Brennan legacy and the importance of family tradition. He mentioned my brother Garrett 4 times in that speech. He mentioned my mom 1 time, but he did not mention me at all. It was like I was not even there, like I was invisible to him. Afterward, a man I did not know came up to me. He had silver hair and thin gold glasses. He took my hand very gently and told me my grandmother was very proud of me. He said he would be in touch soon, and then he disappeared into the crowd of people. I did not know it then, but his name was Harold Caldwell, and he held the key to my entire future. That night, we all went to the big family house for a formal dinner. It was a beautiful white house with huge oak trees that Grandma had built with her own family's money a long time ago. Inside, the The table was set with fancy silver and expensive wine. Everything was meant to look perfect and rich for the relatives. My father sat at the very head of the table and announced that Grandma had left everything to him to manage. He looked right at me and said, "You do not need to worry about any of it, Tori. Hard things are not really your specialty." Garrett just nodded his head along with Dad. When I tried to speak up about what Grandma had told me in the garden, my father cut me off and said she was just confused at the end of her life. My mom, Linda, just looked down at her plate and did not say a single word. A secret letter. I went up to my old bedroom that night. Inside the nightstand drawer, I found a cream-colored envelope with my name on it in Grandma's shaky but very clear handwriting. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside was a letter and a few pages from a legal document called a special locked promise. In the letter, Grandma told me she was sorry she could not stop my father while she was still alive. She said men like him do not listen to women. They only listen to legal papers and rules. She told me the real papers were with her lawyer, Harold Caldwell. She told me not to show anyone yet, not even my mom, because she would tell my father. She called me her architect and told me not to let them tear me down. The papers had one line highlighted in yellow: recipient, Victoria Tori Brennan. I cried as I read those words. For the first time in a very long time, I did not feel small or unimportant. I felt like someone finally believed in me. Planning my next move, I went back to my tiny apartment in Portland the next day. I loved my little place because it was mine, and nobody there ever told me I was not good enough. I looked up the lawyer, Harold Caldwell, and saw his picture on his website. It was the same man from the funeral. I wanted to call him right away, but a little voice in my head, the mean one my father put there, asked what if Grandma really was confused. I decided to focus on my work for a little bit. I am a person who designs gardens, and I had a big project due. I really needed the money because I had a lot of student loans to pay from the year of law school I did before I quit to follow my real dreams. That was the year my father told me I had failed the whole family. Then I saw an email Garrett had sent to me by mistake. It was a plan to change Grandma's legal papers. They were trying to tell a court that I was not smart enough to handle money, so they could take what was supposed to belong to me. One line in the email really hurt my feelings. She will not fight it. She never fights anything. The legal truth. I decided right then and there that I was going to fight for myself. I called my mom and told her I would be there for Thanksgiving dinner. Then I went to see Harold Caldwell. His office was full of old books and felt very calm and peaceful. He showed me the real documents. Grandma had set up a special fund of $620,000 just for my education and my future. He explained that a locked promise means my father could not change it no matter how hard he tried or how much he yelled. Grandma even had a doctor check her mind to prove she was thinking clearly when she signed the papers. Harold also told me that Dad had lied to the court, saying he could not find me to get my permission to change things. But the biggest surprise of all, Grandma left me her beach cottage. It was my favorite place in the whole world. Harold said my father probably did not even know about it because he never bothered to read the whole document. We agreed I would bring copies of everything to the Thanksgiving dinner. The final confrontation. Thanksgiving was a huge event with 32 relatives. I helped in the kitchen for hours while everyone else relaxed. During dinner, my father gave another speech about how great Garrett was. When my aunt asked about me, my father just made a mean joke at my expense, and everyone laughed. Later, he announced he would be making a big update about Grandma's money the next morning. I could see him and Garrett smiling like they had already won a game. When I asked Garrett in the kitchen if he knew what Grandma really left me, He went very pale and ran to tell Dad. That is when the big blow-up happened. My father yelled at me in front of everyone and told me I was grounded. The whole room laughed at me again. I just said, "All right," and went upstairs. I called Harold and told him to meet me the next morning with the real papers. The truth comes out. The next morning, Dad found my empty room and was angry. He was telling everyone I was a coward for leaving when Harold Caldwell walked through the front door. The room went completely silent as Harold explained the truth. He told everyone about the special fund and the fact that my father had lied to the court. My father tried to kick him out, but Harold did not move an inch. He told everyone about the emails where Garrett and Dad planned to trick me. My father's face turned gray. My brother looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Then Harold dropped the biggest news. The house we were standing in, Grandma left that house to me, too. My father never actually owned it. My mom finally stood up for me. She told Dad he owed me an apology. But instead of saying sorry, he just went into his study and shut the door. A new life. After that day, everything changed for the better. My father was removed from being in charge of the money because he broke the legal rules. Garrett got into big trouble with the people who watch over lawyers and could not practice law for a while. I moved into the big house and turned my father's old study into my very own garden design studio. I paid off all my student loans and finally felt free. My mom and I are slowly becoming friends again. She even came over to help me plant new flowers in the garden. As for my father, he still tells people he is the victim, but I do not let it bother me anymore. I have my own business, my own home, and a beautiful cottage by the sea. I learned that being quiet does not mean you are giving up. It just means you are waiting for the right moment to speak the truth. My grandmother did not just leave me money or a house. She left me proof that I was worth fighting for. And that is the very best gift I could ever receive.